I'm from EPFL. EPFL is one of the two technical universities in Switzerland. These are federal universities, so we are rather small. We are 10,000 students on campus. And in 2012, we have the president of EPFL, Patrick Ebischer, decided that we have to go for MOOCs. Actually, he visited Coursera, and he had the feeling that's the new digital revolution in education.
Top down?
Top down. So today we have over 1 million registered users as a single university with 10,000 students on campus. So, and this has made a lot of changes. We started in 2012, now we are 2015. I have here a report on our experience on the MOOCs. It's 2000 annual report, 2012, 2014, so there are a lot of statistical data about lessons learned, about research. We do research on online education. So I have just 9 of those copies here in paper, but if you go on this website of EPFL, you find easily the MOOCs link, and then the report is there and everything, right? So I will start with giving you some figures on what we have learned, and then we'll reflect on what could be the importance for Europe. So I mentioned, so we have over 1 million registered users. 65% are from the, let's call it the Western world. So that's US, it's Europe, Canada, and so on. So these are 65% of our users. We have 22% from Asia. And then we have actually a 6% from Africa, and I will come back to Africa then later on, and then 5% from South America, and so on. So we have 48 MOOC courses deployed. So out of the 48, 1/3 is upcoming. So they're on the website, you can register. 1/3 of the 48 is actually ongoing right now, and we have another third which actually is already ended, because these are courses back from 2012. We started with actually a course in programming language. It's a special course, and this was a professor giving the course, and he actually is the let's say the inventor of this programming language. And like this, he had 50,000 registered users, and 10,000 finished the course, and that's a lot. And I will come to the figures on how many people finally drop out of the process. So courses are in French and English. French are mostly taken, then we have a lot, like 18% of Africans taking the French courses compared to the 6% I was mentioning before. An interesting figure is we have 2/3, and I don't know how this compares, for example, with you on your platform. 2/3 are not enrolled students. So these are people, 2/3, roughly 2/3. So these are not enrolled students. They're just taking courses. People taking courses. So we did, they had to fill in questionnaire on, what's your formation. So a lot of them, they had already a master's degree. So these are people taking courses and kind of continuous education. So we are mostly on edX with 1/3 of our courses and 2/3 on Coursera, so the American platforms. So for us, the content is somehow the important issue, and the content is owned by us. Now, our production rate right now, it's 12 new MOOC per year. So we are producing, so we have a call at EPFL, so professor can in their proposal, there's a selection committee, and so on. So we have studios and so on to produce the MOOC. So we have between 12 and 15 new MOOCs a year we are producing. Now, the age, when you do the statistics on the age, and again in the report is a lot much more on that. So we see that most of the people are in between 20 and 28 years old. So that's, and then you have a big chunk between 28 and 34, and then it goes down. So these are the young people, what actually you would expect. Completion rate. There's a lot of discussion on people, signing up for a course, and then, the actual rate on how many people are finishing a course is maybe below 10%. Now, you have to look at this in a different way, because actually if you have a lot of people signing up, registered users, so that's like a student is going to a university to see whether he or she wants to study there. So it's just take the flyer, you go home, look at the flyer and say, well, that's nothing, right? So we have, I give you the figures, so we have what we call inactive users, 44%, so roughly 45, right? So 45% of students are just registering and doing nothing. So then we have 1/3, what we call them the viewers. So they are looking at least one video, and then usually they stop. So just getting a flavor of what's on. So 1/3, and then they stop. And then we have another 25%, so it's roughly 25, 1/4 of the registered users finally are doing the exercises. And when you're looking on just those students, you being active on your course, then we have kind of a passing rate of 30%. So if you take the active people working on your course, so you have a passing rate around 30%. So now, so these are some figures. Now let me give some food for thought, for the discussion later on. So why should this be important for Europe? And I'm starting now on the strategy we have at EPFL, and I mean this can easily be translated for Europe. So there is the first point on the strategy I would call it's the stars. So each university in Europe, you have some stars, professors. So they have a know-how which is unique. It's even unique worldwide, and it can be any field and any domain. So for them, it's just an excellent way on getting attention. I mean, I mentioned we have courses. I mean, you mentioned 100,000. You have courses having 100,000 registered users. Even if you have a 20% finishing, that's still a lot. So I usually, when our president says, well, dropout rate is quite high, but if you have 1 million registered users, I mean, even 10% is quite good. It's more than we have on campus, 10 times more. So these are for the stars. And for the stars, and it was mentioned by, I guess it was mentioned by you, is they use this as a recruitment tool. I mean, you know exactly how the students are behaving, so you offer them a PhD position later on, because you know how they do. So that's one point. Then the second one, it's the campus itself. So as an institution, if you do MOOC, there's something on the campus, and it was mentioned already. So it's flipped learning, it's blended learning. So we did, and we are still doing flipped learning, and then interviewing the students. Why is it good, or how we to change it. So this is going quite well, and it has an advantage, especially for us as a university. We do not have these big audience halls where actually I can teach 500 students. So for these first year courses, we are doing MOOCs. And then so they take the MOOC, and then when they come to the university, we do the exercises. I mean, workshops, and so it's more the interactive part, and they like it very much. Then ECTS. So it's actually a challenge. Delft was mentioned, so we are working with Delft to look on, how could you give ECTS points to courses? It's a challenge, but it will come. So again, there is something to play here for Europe. And let me say another word here to Europe. When you look at the States, it was mentioned several times. So the States, they have one problem. We have very high tuition fee for the other universities. It's not the case in Europe. Most of the countries, except from UK, it's very low. So actually, we do not have a problem to put our courses online, as maybe some other universities in the States have. Because actually, your business model, if from the point on you accept that the online course is accepted like, a course given on campus, then you have a problem in your business model. Europe doesn't have it. And actually, in addition, we have this nice system for bachelor and master. So, and we have Erasmus exchange of students. So actually, we have everything here to develop further on the online education. And the message, if there is one message today, is we should go forward with that. I mean, there's a big challenge. We have multicultural in Europe. We have many languages, cultures. I mean, we have everything is here. We have just somehow to do it. Then, what is missing somehow today? It's entire curricula. So we have individual courses like at EPFL. We are starting now to build not entire curricula, but putting courses together. And again, I mean, we are a member of Eurotech universities, and it was mentioned. So we are starting now with TU Munich to see, how can we work together as universities, maybe 4 or 5 or whatever, and offer some joint MOOCs on a subject. And this would be very beneficial as well. Then continuous education. I mean, this I do not have. The business model was asked already. So if you do continuous education with MOOC, that's a business. We're actually willing. So we are working with corporate. They're interested to get online education for their employees. So still you can do MOOC, and then you bring them on campus for a couple of days, and then you do exams and workshops. So there is a model to develop, and we are quite in that one. Now let me come maybe to the last point on our strategy. It's MOOC education in general for less developed regions on this planet. So we have a cooperation with Francophone Africa through a network which is called reshapes. So we are heavily investing in MOOCs for Africa. I give you a figure. So we put 7 million on the table for for the next 3 years. We have put 7 million on the table from foundations, from the Swiss government, wherever, actually to produce 50 MOOCs for Africa, and we have already done it. So we are working in cooperation with African partners. Again, it's Francophone Africa. So, and we do it in a partnership. So actually, we have people there, universities, willing to sign up. So, the MOOC, for the time being, it's produced either at EPFL, or we do it jointly with people in Africa, and we're offering to the students. And it's amazing. So if you look on statistics, and again, it's presented here, if you look on statistics, who takes courses? So sure, I mean, Europe takes a lot, and the US, but if you normalize this by the number of people having access to internet, then Africa is leading. So in our statistic, so if people have access to internet, they go for education, they go for online education. So there's really something to do. So the next step now we are developing at EPFL is MOOCs on mobile phones, because actually most Africans, I just saw today the figure, 7 billion handies were, this was in the news. So most of the Africans have a handy or a mobile phone, they don't necessarily have a computer. So I guess for us, this capacity building in Africa, and I mean you can do it for other parts of the world, it's actually very interesting. You learn a lot. So we run workshops, we bring the Africans to EPFL, that they learn how to do MOOC. We will be at the first, so in Africa in December, there will be the first type of ESOF conference for Africa. So ESOF, it's the European, so the AAAS in the States, so Africa will have the first in December. So we will run a MOOC on a session on MOOC, and actually we have the first professor. He's developing his first MOOC for Africa, and we taught him how to do it. So I mean that's kind of things you can do. So let me finish with maybe 2 testimonials. So we got, when you do this kind of stuff, you get some testimonials. So we have Natalie, a 50-year-old housewife in Nigeria. She wrote us then after having completed actually this housewife in Nigeria, and actually she took a course on C++ programming. So I mean so, and she wrote then, I don't know if I will use my new C++ skills one day, but it has given me some self-confidence in my ability to still use my gray cells. Or we, for example, for unemployed people, we have a Christian from France saying he's 6 years old. I haven't had a job for 1 year, and I have little hope of finding one because of my age. If only I had this opportunity taking MOOCs while I was still young, my life would have been different. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think there is something going on here, and Europe has really to take the chance and the opportunity. We are breaking down walls between academia and the private sector. We are breaking down walls between the developing world and the underdeveloped world. We are breaking walls even within the institution, because your course is getting online and visible for everybody. And so education for the first time becomes somehow, where you can, people are liking or not. So actually there is a big transformation going on, and it would be nice if Europe could step in there. Thanks.